I have a visitor for today's video. This is Cleo. Unfortunately, she's quite a noisy visitor, but yeah. I know you're too noisy. But I don't have the heart to send her away, so we're gonna have to put up with it. So today I'm doing an August book haul, and the eagle-eyed among you will notice that I've already done an August book haul. I just like buying books, and I've said this to many friends though, but if you're going to be addicted to buying something, being addicted to buying books is kind of one of the good things to be addicted to buying. So the first book I bought with my voucher was Release by Patrick Ness, and I've been meaning to buy this for so long because I love Patrick Ness and his writing, and just I've wanted to read it for ages. And this is a novel that is about a teenager called Adam, and it takes place in the course of one day, and it's kind of about him dealing with his life at that point and his sexuality, but also there's kind of a bit of magical realism in it, I've heard. So there's a ghost that rises from the lake that kind of, I think, helps him on his journey. But I'm really excited to read it. Patrick Ness writes beautifully, and yeah, I'm really excited to get into this. And also at his panel at YALC, Patrick Ness talked about the next book I bought, which is Forever by Judy Blume, and I think this is about, don't sigh at me. I think this is about a teenager who loses her virginity for the first time, obviously for the first time, and it's basically about how that affects her and her life at that time. And he said in his panel that it was one of the most accurate and kind of memorable portrayals that he'd seen of it, and that this book is kind of well loved by a lot of people, and it was very forward for the time it came out, which I think was like the 80s or maybe like the 90s, or basically ahead of its time and impactful. So I thought I'll pick that up, and it's really short, so I'm probably going to read that soon. Cleo, take a drink. Get a drink. If you're hot, get a drink. It's not that hard. There's a hair in your eye. And recently I've been reading a lot of contemporary, so I wanted to get back into kind of fantasy, sci-fi, because I was like a bit fed up of reading about real people and real life problems. I want to disappear into a fantasy universe for a while. So I picked up The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, and this is basically a sci-fi thing about a crew on a ship, and that's basically all I know. My friend told me though that this is very much a character-driven novel, and it follows the kind of characters and their relationships and how they develop while they're in space on this voyage together, which I thought that was really interesting. Usually sci-fi tends to be quite action-packed, and I was quite interested by the idea of a sci-fi novel that was quite slow-paced and about the characters and relationships, but just in a sci-fi setting. So I'm very excited to read this. And then in terms of fantasy, I bought Uprooted by Naomi Novik, and all I know about this, I think, is there's a little town on the edge of the woods, and in the woods there lives this kind of demon or this kind of supernatural figure who takes a girl from the town every few years or so, and it's about this girl who lives in the town, and she thinks that her best friend is going to get taken. I'm very excited to read it. I've heard really rave reviews about it, and I love the cover, and just I'm getting kind of fairy tale vibes from it, and I'm very excited because, you know, anything to do with fairy tales is right up my street. And earlier this year I read The Princess Diarist by Carrie Fisher, and I absolutely loved that. Carrie Fisher, as well as being an incredible and iconic actress, is an incredible writer. She writes with such intelligence, and she's so funny, and really her books are just addictive. You end up feeling that you've been talking to a friend the whole time, and she's just very open and very honest and very warm. So I got Wishful Drinking, which is the book kind of that came out of her one woman show of the same name. And the shush baby, lie down. And the basic kind of premise for this book is that Carrie was going through electroshock therapy at the time because of her bipolar disorder and her depression, and as a result of that electroshock she started to lose bits and pieces of her memory. So this book, and also the kind of, not the sequel, but like a companion book, Shockaholic, which is a funny title, is basically her journey to try and piece together kind of who she is and what she wants from life, but in a very funny and very kind of raw and open way. I think I've started reading Wishful Drinking, and it's great. I mean, I can't recommend it enough. Even if you're not a fan of Carrie Fisher or you don't really know who she is, it's just a very honest and witty account of someone's life. The last book I got in August is called Unicorn, and it's a poetry collection by Angela Carter. This excites me so much. I love Angela Carter's writing. At A-level we studied The Bloody Chamber, and I absolutely fell in love with The Bloody Chamber, which is a collection of short stories by Angela Carter, and they're all based on fairy tales, but she subverts them in a kind of feminist and modern way, but the way that she writes is absolutely stunning. Like, even her prose sounds like poetry, so I was very excited to pick up some of her poetry, and I love this cover, it's just really cool. So I'm very much looking forward to reading this. She has such a way with words, and the kind of themes and topics that she's interested in are like crazy and fascinating. So this poetry collection is about magic, the reworking of myths and their darker sides, and the overturning of literary and social conventions, with imagery at times startling in its violence and disconcerting in its presentation of sexuality. Unicorn provides compelling insight into the formation of a remarkable imagination. It sounds so good. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to read it. Thanks so much for watching this haul. If you've read any of the books that I've picked up and liked them, please let me know. And yeah, that's basically it for this video. And I promise the next video I do won't be a haul. I'll see you soon. Bye.